and welcome to part 3 of When God Calls You to Move. So, if you are new here, I want to say welcome, welcome, and welcome. If you did not see part 1 and 2, I encourage you to go see that. I really just want to thank the people who have seen it and have been blessed by it in some way. I just want to say thank you, honestly. I really didn't have any expectations, but I just want to say thank you. And God bless you. But I want to go ahead and introduce myself to those who are new here. If you are new, my name is Brianne Vay. I am a mother of 2 girls. I'm originally from St. Louis. I moved to Kansas City in 2019. And I got saved in 2021. I got saved in my living room. I don't know if I ever said that, but I got saved literally in my living room. And I was really just lost in my identity. I was lost. A lot of things were falling apart for me. And I cried out, and I was just crying out. And I had a Bible for a while. I had a Bible that I never read. I knew of God, but I didn't know him. I didn't love him. And one day when I was in my living room and I was crying out and I was like, God, who am I? Who am I? And I was like, what am I here for? Who am I? Who am I? And I was just crying and crying. And literally now, now that I know that that was the Holy Spirit, like it was God, leading me to my Bible, because I literally just went and was like, let me read my Bible, literally, after never reading it. And I read it, and I read it until like it was sun up to sundown. I was reading my Bible so much that I fasted, and I didn't even like realize what I was doing. I was so in tune with reading the Bible. It was crazy. Like it was, now looking back at it, it was the Holy Spirit. Like it was God. It was so spiritual, y'all. But I went off into a rampage. But that's a little bit about me. I got saved in my living room. I currently live in Chicago, but I came from Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, so this is what this is really about. So I came to Kansas City, Missouri in 2019. Loved Kansas, y'all. I loved Kansas, but that was a lot of pruning for me. I learned a lot in Kansas. That's where my relationship grew with God was in Kansas, and so I was very grateful for that. A little bit about me that I feel God wants me to share that I haven't shared, I don't think, with this channel, because I do have a podcast, y'all, and I'm really trying to get better at it. Okay. But I do have a podcast, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I am someone who came from abusive relationships. So I am someone who survived abuse. And so I just want to make, just let y'all know that about me. God pulled me out of that relationship. And if we're going to be honest, that's when I really did experience God. But I wasn't ready to surrender then. I was like just still playing around, doing what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, God did this. But then I didn't want to give my life to him. Like I was not ready to surrender. And so, but yes, I came from an abusive relationship in 2019 when I came to Kansas. I left the relationship, and honestly, y'all, I'm actually gonna make a separate video, because I'm getting more serious about my YouTube channel, like very serious. Where this is where all my content will probably be. I love TikTok, but that's not longevity for me. I'm not the biggest fan. I love TikTok, but I'm not this crazy, like where I feel like that's where everything's going to, like, I don't feel like that's where my community is going to come from. I believe that YouTube is going to get me the community that I need. And so anyway, let's jump into this part 3. So like I said, if you haven't looked at part 1 and 2, go ahead and look at that. I encourage you, please. But where I left off in part 2, y'all, so after I had came to Chicago, this is before the actual move, right? So after I had came here, this was just me visiting. Okay, this not visiting. Okay, I was actually planning to, like, okay, God is gonna like work something out for me when I get there and all of that, but it didn't work like that. Like it literally did not work like that. So after me being in an Airbnb and my time being up, I was like, well, I guess I gotta go back to my mom's house, because my mom was even though when I put in a notice to vacate from my apartment in Kansas, I put in my notice to vacate in November. My lease was originally supposed to end on November 30th. But when I put my notice to vacate in, because I was still going back and forth with God, like, what am I doing? What is going on? What is going to happen? So I put in my notice to vacate a little late, because I really was like, okay, I don't know, like, so, but I put it in and they told me I had 60 days. So I still had until January technically to leave, right? And here, this is where unnecessary trials came in for me, because I was like, they told me to January. And when I was asking God when he wanted me to move, I think I was more like just trying to find out what was going to happen. Like, you know how when God give you a word, you're just trying to find out and figure out things and trying to get it to come. You're just trying to figure so much stuff out, and God didn't ask you to do none of that. And that's where I messed up. So when I went to Chicago, even though when I was asking God, like, okay, when exactly, what day you want me to go, because my lease was, and I think it was also because I had, like, he asked me to quit my job, and I'm thinking about money. It was just a bunch of silly stuff on my end. And so I ended up going to Chicago. In my eyes, I feel like I went before I was supposed to. Had planned for me to go, but God is such a good God that he literally will use your foolishness, right, for good. He'll use the evil for good, but also your foolishness, your stupidity. So I went to Chicago. Time was up for the Airbnb. I was like, well, I guess I got to go back to my mom's house, because even though I did have to January to be out, I could have went back to the apartment, but I emptied it out. Like, I didn't have nothing there. So, and then I was like, well, either way, the lease is going to end. So I went back to my mom's house, very embarrassed, very upset, very just questioning everything. Like, I literally just, like, I'm thinking about, and I wasn't necessarily mad at God at this point. I was just like, what is going on? Like, I was just so like, what is going on right now? But the thing is about all of this is that I was able to see someone else's testimony. They went through this, and I was like, there's no way God is not going to come through for me. Even though I realized I can't, this is not, her testimony is not my testimony. So it's not going to be that, but I truly believe that God is going to come through for me. And so when I had to go back to my mom's house, I didn't really care to explain what was going on. I was really still trying to just keep myself in communication with God. Like, I wasn't trying to listen to nothing on the outside. I was just trying to keep myself focused. And in my mom's house, it was not bad. Me and my mom don't have the worst relationship. We don't have the best relationship. And so it was just like off. I could go into details, but I'll spare y'all, because it just really was unnecessary stuff going on. And so it was, but I could tell, like, my spirit was not supposed to be there. Like, it was just like, this is not where God wants you to stay. And I hear a lot of people testify, and they like, God had them give up their apartment to go live back with their parents and all of that. And let me just say, if me and my mom had that type of relationship, I don't think it would be a problem. And not even saying that out of my own strength, like I would do it if I wanted to, but it would be like, I just knew that was not what he was calling me to do. And so, and this is how I knew too, because I thought about, like, all that time I was sitting in my mom's house, and I'm journaling, y'all, I'm crying and I'm journaling. And, a lot of other stuff happened with my siblings during this time too, that it was something that I needed. Like, it was truly just God. He's just so divine. So anyway, I end up thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, I could go back to my apartment. I just literally was thinking about it. Like, I can go back to my apartment for real. And everything would be figured out. I don't know. I'm just like, I can go back if I'm being for real. So I just so happened to call my apartment. And I was like, what if things did not work out the way I planned when I was planning on moving? Am I able to come back and sign my lease? Or am I able to come back even though I put in my notice to vacate, blah, blah, blah? Because I say sign my lease, because at this point, I'm like, okay, what did I do? I don't like, so I'm like, sign my lease, because I don't really know what God's about to do. So I was just like going to re-sign a lease. And here's another thing, like just moving ahead of God, just trying to figure things out in my own strength, y'all. Really, I was making a bunch of stupid decisions, and it was just like I could have just avoided a lot of stuff. But anyhow, I called them, and she was literally like, "Yeah, you can." She said, but she was like, "You got until so and so, you got into this date, and you need to get back down here to sign your lease." And the thing was, the girl in the leasing office, I was really cool with a lot of the women in the leasing office. And it's so the girl who I was talking to so happened to be the one of the girls that I was like really cool with. I mean, like we follow each other on TikTok and everything. So it was like, that type of relationship. And so I got back down there to sign my lease. Just goodness gracious, like, oh my gosh. And so it ended up working out. Like I literally had to go back to Kansas in the same apartment that I just moved everything out of, that I just like, and I was kind of mad, but I'm like, okay, I need to use this time to be still. I need to use this time to be still. And I need to hear, like, I really need to move in the way God wants me to move. Like, so I go back, right? I go back. I so happened to, like, I was able to get like beds from my daughters. They got like their own beds. I had my bed. I had a blow up bed for a minute, and then yeah, and then I got two I got two TVs. I got a bunch of stuff that I really just needed, like necessities that I needed to survive until I figured out, like, okay, what was going to happen? Like, what was I doing? I got my Wi-Fi was still on. I didn't get it switched. Like, it was, and then my utilities, all that I hadn't got none of that switched out. So all of that was still good. Right. And so everything was cool, right? For real, for real. Because I enjoyed my apartment that I was in, and I was really happy when I got back, because honestly, it was like, man, like, anyway. So that happened. So okay, so this is in November, I mean December. At this point, I went back December like December 6th or something, because when I was at my mom's house, it was November 27th. Like, it was around Thanksgiving time all the way up until like December 6th. And I went back in December. I was back, and in March, I went back to Chicago. Now, let me tell y'all why. So I told y'all I was using that time to be still. I was just cooling. I'm just like praying about it. And, I'm just steady praying. I'm like, God, what's happening? I'm asking God all questions, y'all. And I'm trying to figure out, but it's also like God is like revealing to me a lot about me at this time. He's not even answering my questions about Chicago. He's like bringing stuff to the surface within me. Like, and it's just like, this is why it's so good when it's such like a praising moment where you can go back and see everything God was doing, and you can see how anxious you was for nothing, and God was just slowly like working on you, and slowly answering your prayers, and slowly just making so many things come to pass, and you couldn't even see that at the time because you were so wrapped up in your own strength. And y'all, be for real. And you know what? Speaking of own strength, I'm gonna go off just a little bit. I was reading the other day. And let me know if I'm pronouncing this wrong. But the other day I was reading Habakkuk, and this is my first time reading it. Habakkuk. And it's only like 3 chapters, real short. I encourage you to read it, y'all, if you haven't. It's very short. And I think it was Habakkuk 1:11. It literally was talking about, this is when God was answering he was answering his complaint, and he was talking about the people in the city, and he was like, their own God, their strength is their own God. Like, literally, their strength is their own God. And this brought me back to me. Like, he was speaking directly to me on this. Like, your strength can be your own God, literally. And so, anyway, I'm gonna get back on track. And so, in March, I went back to Chicago because I was like, I did a fast, and I don't want to even get in depth with that too much, y'all, because I'm really trying to get key points of everything. I don't want to spend so much time, but it's like I went on a fast, and I felt God was like, it's like when I was in Kansas, even though I was happy to be back in my apartment, I definitely felt like I wasn't supposed to be there at the same time. I felt delayed. If there's points in your life where you're delayed. Like, I know a lot of people say, where you are, you're right where you're supposed to be. Yes, because at the same time, God knew you would do this, but at the same time, God had plans also for you to be elsewhere, and because of things that we do foolishly, we're not there at that moment. Like there's a lot of things that we actually do miss out on because of our stupidity, because of us being foolish. And even though this is things God knows of, we still are delayed spiritually, right? We're delayed in a lot of ways where there's things that we could just, there's a lot of things I think we could, it could be different for us if we didn't make certain decisions. And so that's just what that is. But I was like, I just don't feel like, I was going back and forth with myself, y'all, for real, because I was just like, man, I cannot believe I went to Chicago and had to come back to Kansas City. I was pissed. Excuse me, y'all, but I was so mad. And so I was just like, and this is, once again, my own flesh, because I'm just like, I'm just mad, right? And so I feel God telling me, like, not telling me, honestly. I was like, I wanted God to tell me, like, I just wanted to hear God so audibly and go back to Chicago and just, but it didn't work like that. So when I went on the fast, I was like, God, I just don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, because I was trying to see clarity during the fast. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down to Chicago. And again, and this time I had like a little bit of money. I still had no car. Okay. So, but yeah, I just had a little money, right? And so I went back down to Chicago and I stayed for like a month, y'all. I stayed for a month. And I got an Airbnb again. The Airbnb deal really blows my mind. Okay. So this is why, when I went down there, I was, when the stuff with this Airbnb made it seem like, okay, God is literally about to move now. That's what I'm thinking. Like, it was going so well. But no, 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 no. He was planting seeds, though, for sure. He was planting seeds. So I don't think it was vain. It was just like the way I did it, though. I'm gonna keep saying it. It was kind of foolish. Like, I just needed to sit still more. That's really what it was about. I just needed to sit still more, and I didn't do that. And so, anyway, so going down there, right? I went back. I'm making sure I'm not missing nothing. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing nothing. So I went down there, on March 19th, and I planned to stay until April 20th. Before I went, I thought that, okay, well, if you go down here for a month, this is what I did wrong. I gave God a time frame. I was like, well, God, I'm going to be down here. I'm going to go down here for a month. I'm literally like, I'm planning this. And this is what you realize after a while. You'd be like, I was really doing stupid stuff, y'all. Like, I'm up here like, okay, well, I'm going to go down here for a month. That's enough time for God to figure something out for me. Literally. Like, I'm like, okay, that's enough time. I think God can figure something out. I was giving God a month to do something. Like, and this is something God brought to me after I had to come my butt back again. I had to come back again, y'all. I had to come back again. I was so mad. I was so mad. But this time, so when I was on my way to Chicago the first time, right? Nobody knew until I was on my way to Chicago, because it was like, my mom was like, it was just, I could not tell her, right? So anyway, but the second time, nobody knew. Like, nobody knew. I just went, I didn't say nothing for a while. Like, I wasn't even answering my mom's calls because I just didn't want to talk. I didn't even want to accidentally tell her that I was in Chicago again. So I was like, just having really small talks with her, getting her off the phone quickly. Like, Mom, I gotta go. And honestly, I needed that too, because, it just, yeah. Anyways, God still moved in all of this, period, point blank. And yeah, and I'm here, and I'm glad I'm just able to testify right now. But anyway, so yeah, so I thought that, I was gonna give God a time frame and blah blah blah. And I go my butt back down here. Now, it was going good though, like with the host, right? First of all, she was very, like, we was chatting before I even got down there. I asked her, I was like, is it okay if I shoot content in here? Because I was like, filming stuff about the journey I'm having. So anyway, we was talking. So when I got there, y'all, beautiful Airbnb, and she had a bunch of books, right? And so I'm just looking around the Airbnb, y'all. The day after I had got there, this is the morning time, I'm just walking around drinking coffee, y'all, just walking around, just like, just filling out the Airbnb. And she had a bunch of books, and I was just looking at all the books. What caught my eye is if you didn't know, I didn't mention this in the beginning of this video, but I am into fashion design. Okay, I'm into fashion design. I study fashion design, and so when I saw books about fashion design in her house, I was like, okay, So I started looking through more and more books, and I found the book. It was a Christian book, and I looked at the back of it, and it was her. It said her name. So her and her mother has the same name. I thought it was her, but it was actually her mother who wrote the book. So the first page of the book is Psalms 23. In this whole process, y'all, Psalms 23 is something that I was reading every morning. Ever since I've started the whole journey of like, okay, when God actually told me to get rid of everything in my apartment, that all till now, I had start reading Psalms 23 every day. Like I had studied Psalms 23. So it was like, oh my gosh. Like when I saw it, I was like, and so I'm like, wow. And she was talking about how she used to read Psalms 23 every day before it, in the morning and before she went to bed. So I was like, wow. So, I saw that, and I didn't want to be like, I was going to hit her up when I was reading it. Like, oh my gosh, you get overexcited about when God is confirming things to you, you get overly excited and you be want to just blab. Like you just be want to talk, and it's like, okay, chill, you don't even need to do that. Like that's why I was like, okay, you don't need to do that. I was finna hit her up like, oh my gosh, it's your book just gave me confidence. So I didn't do that. But one day we was chatting, and she was just asking me how everything was at the Airbnb, and I was like, it's good, we just talking. And y'all, something was like, just tell her you read the book. She was like, it's not me, it's my mom. They look alike, their name is the same. So I was like, oh, really? So she was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally crying and I'm about to call my mom, blah, blah, blah. So she was like, my mom literally said this is confirmation for her. And I was just like, wow. Anyway, so yeah, that happened. And so after that moment, y'all, me and her chatting like we friends. She invited me to church. And after she invited me to church, I was literally I was in Chicago around this time last year on this little venture. But she invited me to church, and then we were talking after church, right? And she was like, asking me, I ended up telling her about everything, like the whole thing, because it was just like, it made sense too. And I see why, like, it was all God, y'all. And so we talk. I don't know what made us get on the topic of boutiques and everything, or whatever, or clothing. I really don't. But we talking, and she was telling me about a boutique. She was like, this is a really good boutique down the street. It was literally walking distance, and she was just kind of telling me about the neighborhood and places I can go. And I end up telling her, like, I design clothes, and talking to her about, I saw her fashion book, the fashion books. I was like, do you design? That's what it was, because I saw her fashion design books, and she was like, no, my husband went to school for fashion designing. And so I was like, oh, wow. And we got to talking more and more. I showed her some of my stuff, and she was like, do you need a sewing machine? Like, my husband has a sewing machine he doesn't even use no more. And I was like, I didn't know what to say, y'all. I was like, I was like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to give me his sewing machine. I don't even really know where I'm going to, I don't even have a place right now. I'm just, all the things. And she was like, basically, like, you can have it. And so I'm just like, really just so speechless. We had a really good conversation, just chatting. So then she invited me to her house. Like, so she invited me to Easter dinner for or whatever. And so that really just was like, I can go into details about that, y'all, but it's just like, it will be forever. Okay, this video will be forever. And so yeah, I went to dinner on Easter with her family. Right after that, right, so it was like around later on that evening when I had left the dinner, she had her son drop off the sewing machine to me. It was just like, wow. And here's another gotcha, y'all. So I went to the boutique that she told me about, and I'm looking around. I mean, y'all, they got some, oh my gosh, like I was like, I literally was like, I gotta get out this store. But anyway, so I'm looking around, finding so many things I like. I'm just in love with the store, y'all. So I end up talking to the owner, and I bought a couple things or whatever, and we just talking about. She was like, these are good picks, and da da da. And I was like, yeah, my Tasha told me about you, and so happened that she knew Tasha. They knew each other. Blah blah blah. I gotta tell. We just talking. I'm very talkative. I love talking to people. That I've anyway. So we just talking really, and I got into like, yeah, I design clothes, like da da da. And at the time, like I had everything that like all of my designs are on my iPad. They're not on my phone. They're separate because it just be too much. So I was like, I was like, tomorrow I can come back. I don't have my iPad with me, but I want to show you my work. And she was like, yeah, bring, come back down. So I went back the next day, show her my work. We chatting, da da da. I'm telling her like, we just got to chatting, and honestly just start like, we just started we just like basically was thinking the same thing. And so she was like, I was like, if I'm not basically, I wasn't asking her for no job, but I was like, if you want to ever connect, we like, I don't know what you kind of need help with right now, whatever, but I'm definitely down to partner with you. I like what you're doing and everything. And I was like, just, I don't know what I can add I was like, I don't know what I can add on. What did I say? I was just like chatting for real. I don't even remember. And so she was like, basically like, yeah, basically. And she gave me something to do. Like she gave me a upcycling project. And long story short, for real, I end up doing this project and end up selling it in her store. So it was just like all of that had happened, and I hadn't been down in Chicago for like, I had only been there for like, I think it was 2 weeks. So 2 weeks I had been, a week or two that I had been down there. So I'm like, oh my gosh, God, about to move. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, it's everything. My faith is being built. So y'all, I'm still praying because I'm still thinking, okay, but I still need to like, I'm thinking way too far ahead too. I'm just stressing myself out at the same time. I'm trying to fast, but I'm so like all over the place that I barely could fast at this point. I had fasted a lot anyway, but like I was just like, it was just so much, y'all. But anyway, so yeah, that all that happened. But so let's fast forward to how did I how I end up having to go back to Kansas. And you know what I really messed up at is because I was like, I gave God this time frame, like I'm gonna be down there for a month, thinking God had to work within my little month I thought I could put on him. And I also was like, well, if I do find something while I'm down in Chicago, if everything work out, I just re-signed a lease. So I'm thinking about, all of this thinking that I didn't even have to do, just so much. And I was like, well, you know what? If whatever I find in Chicago, I should still be able to keep my apartment. I can empty everything out, but I can keep my apartment until, just so much extra work that God don't even require you to do. And so I was just all over the place for no reason, absolutely no reason. And I ended up having to go back to Kansas and finishing my lease. I ended up having to go back to Kansas and finishing my lease. And I'm a tell y'all how I supernaturally got back to Chicago with no work being done. Everything was supernaturally, smoothly, not a freaking finger lifted, like nothing. All that I had went through, all of that. And even I have times where I was like, okay, when I did get the Airbnb and I did have my little money, it was like I thought that something was gonna work out because of money. I was looking at money as my source. I was not looking at God as my source. This is how it was so many teaching moments in all of this. God was teaching me like how I had idolized money and I had made it my source. I had made everything else my source and except him. Like God really stripped me. He stripped me from everything because everything else was a source to me but him. I was just at that moment, God was just a resource for me. Everything else was the source. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna depend on this, my money, the job, all of that's getting me, and God is just, it's just to help. He just helps me out with all of that. He just helps me out every now and then. God showed me, he showed me who he really is. And it was out of love. It was actually with love. At the time, it felt so harsh, but y'all, it was all like, so The next part is gonna be the last part. Okay, so that's part 4. I'm just gonna tell y'all how it supernaturally happened. Okay, how my butt went. I'm back in Kansas, y'all. Like silly person, completely foolish, and I had to finish my lease. But God, such a supernatural God, And you know what I'm gonna tell y'all? I'm gonna tell y'all the story of how I almost was in a cult during this time too, because they was talking about Chicago. Y'all, it was crazy. Okay, so I just want to thank y'all for tuning in to part 3. Hope I didn't bore y'all. But thank you for tuning in. I'll see y'all in part 4. Please remember, y'all, to be obedient. Okay, be obedient. Be obedient. If God is calling you to move right now, if you are in this, if this story sounds very familiar to you, if you are going through this, you need to be still. Be still. Let God talk to you. If you are having to put in a lot of extra work just to move, if God gave you a word and you catch yourself going above and beyond to do for this word to come to pass, you are not moving in alignment with God. If he gave you a word and you are like, it's just extremely hard work, you are not a moving in alignment with God. It doesn't mean you heard him wrong. It doesn't mean the word he said he gave you isn't going to come to pass. It means you're not moving in alignment with how he wants this word to come to pass. You're not. You're trying to work in your own flesh. And honestly, y'all, of course God is going to correct you. But if you can save yourself if you can save yourself from making stupid decisions and not being extremely delayed, be still and just wait. He gonna work it out supernaturally, literally, like even when you think you can make it happen with your money, he will show you who the real source is, because it ain't your money. It's not. God will he is and supernaturally it's no other way. Like it's no other way that it can be done. No other way but through God. Literally. So see y'all in part 4. Bye. Bye, guys.